Hey everybody, welcome to Lou and Kim's or Kim and Lou's Detox. We're at day number 2 and there is a little bit of an echo in here because there's not a lot of furniture in this place that I'm at, but I have to admit this is so much better than the technical difficulties that we've been playing with the last couple of days. So as you see, managed to get my screen fixed and you can actually see me. So hello everybody. I'm Kimberly Kershane, and I'd love to introduce you to my cohort, my colleague, and my detox partner in crime here as we move along, Lou Maxwell.
Hello, Kim. Happy Friday. Happy day 2. Yes. How was your day?
My day today, considering how we started out, for those of you who are watching, we actually did do a full recording this morning with major technical difficulties. Lou's connection wasn't working, and then I had to move to another location because we couldn't reach the phone. We were putting the phone into the thing. Anyways, it allows all of this stuff, which really allows me to go, okay, what am I really ready to shift and change? And what kind of blockages can come up that we can actually allow ourselves to move through with greater ease? And I had texted Lou saying, the recording we just did didn't happen, and I'm sure you're not surprised. So yeah, the rest of the day, figuring out how to get through some of these barriers that we've been having, some problems with this. Ate very clean today. I'm just about to have a dinner, which is not 100% on the clean eating portion. There's a couple of things there, like some tofu that I shouldn't be having today, but okay. I wanted some extra protein, and that's what my body wanted, so I'm honoring that. So yeah, outside of that, it's been a pretty magnificent day, and I'm very happy to be able to connect here.
Good. I'm glad. My day, I'm glad it's Friday. It's been a week where nothing went terribly wrong, but nothing went terribly well, so I'm happy that it's over. And then today, I'm feeling a little bit like right now, and I didn't eat horribly today. I started off with my morning elixir with my apple cider vinegar, lemon, and raw honey. And I had some eggs for breakfast, so frittata for breakfast with some veggies. And that tided me over until middle of the afternoon. So I had some rice crackers and hummus. So I'm like, okay. And then I felt that wanted something salty and crunchy. So I'm like, okay, pistachios. I love pistachios. And I ate them one by one because you actually eat less if you actually get the shell. Once you have the shell, you actually eat less of them because you're taking more time to shell them, more effort. So you actually eat less. So I did that, and now I'm feeling kind of full and not great. So I think I have what we would call nut gut. So when you have too many nuts, and it just feels like, ugh. Because pistachios aren't very big. You can only, even if you're a whole bowl of shelled, after the shells are gone, it's like this much. But it's like, I'm not feeling so hot in the belly. I'm feeling really full, which probably means it's a little bit bloated. And it's like, okay, why? Nuts. Pistachios. Thing with nuts, they are hard to digest unless you soak them. These were roasted, cooked nuts, so those weren't soaked and sprouted. And it does make it harder on the digestive system. So that is something I am feeling right now. So it was an observation. It's been a while since I've had, a good couple of handfuls of pistachios. And it's just interesting, even though they're not bad for you and they've got a good fat, not everyone can really easily digest nuts. Because nuts have a coating on them. Most nuts and seeds have a coating, and it's nature's protection it's called phytic acid, and it's actually hard for our body to break them down. So the best thing for us to be able to ingest them properly is if we soak our nuts and seeds. First of all, they need to be raw. And then we soak them from 4 to 6 hours, depending on the nuts and seeds. And you just rinse them. And after that, you can dehydrate them, rehydrate them, whatever you want. But soaking them takes those undigestible enzymes off them. and makes them easier to digest. So that's my lesson is if I want some nuts, sprouted ones are the best for me.
Cool. And this morning you were mentioning, because we were talking about different types of foods and foods that are in season. And one of the big things that was a very interesting conversation was the conversation about asparagus and cilantro. Would you mind sharing some of that again, please?
Oh yes, asparagus is one of the seasonal vegetables we'll see right now, and that's very good for the organs and detoxifying the organs. The beautiful thing, which way you look at it, okay, maybe not. There's this thing called asparagus pea. Now, it took me a while to figure this out. It took me a couple of years because every once in a while I'd be in the WC, TMI alert, in the bathroom, and I'm like, wow, what is going on in here? It smells like ammonia. And it took me quite a few years to figure out that it was actually me. It was only because people were talking about this thing called asparagus pea. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, oh yeah, your pea smells really bad if you have asparagus. I'm like, no, mine doesn't. And then when that ammonia thing came through again, it's like, wait a minute, is this what they're talking about? But it was years before I realized that every once in a while, one of those weird kind of chemical smells coming from the bathroom was actually coming from me. And that is actually a gene. So that doesn't happen to everybody. So part of the population actually has a gene. And
it happens to me too. So you don't have to feel, that's why I don't eat asparagus, because I don't like the way that and it's not just the urine that smells for me. I don't like the way my body smells.
Oh, so I might carry it a little bit on a cellular level or a dermal level. And cilantro is the same thing for people. For some people, it's a love-hate relationship. Some people love cilantro, other people can't. And the people that can't, and some people say, oh, it tastes like soap. Well, guess what? That's genetic as well. There is a genetic marker that has some people not be able to handle the taste of cilantro because it tastes like soap to them. And it's actually a DNA marker. So when someone says they can't stand cilantro, there is a chance that actually they mean what they say and they really can't help it. It's actually literally in their DNA.
That's really cool study. And I'm so glad that we were able to grab that on video, because that was really important information, because I thought there was something wrong with my body. And figure out. What? Exactly. And I was like, you go to the bathroom and it's like, there's nobody else in here. It's totally me. Just like, what is that?
I think it was something like my pipes are backing up, but no, it was me. I was the one that was backing up, apparently. Wow. So yes, nature has a funny way of playing tricks on us, but yeah, that's just our body taking things in.
So do you know of anything else that has that kind of a reaction, or is it just with those two? Is it just the asparagus and cilantro, or are there other things out there too?
Those are the only ones that I've come across. As we used to say, there could be more. And I mean, when you think about it, certain types of medications for people can't have because of genetics, and even with normal things, everyday things like dairy, there's some races and ethnic groups that can handle digestion of dairy more so than others. And when you look back historically in their culture, they didn't have that necessarily in their diet. When we look at the Canadian, North American indigenous culture, their body types can handle a lot of meat and a lot of greens, but not so much dairies and sugars. Whereas when you go to places like Denmark, they've had several centuries of being able to have dairy in their diet. So as a people, their bodies have adapted. So when you think about genetics, you can look a little further back and go, hey, okay, genetically, I'm genetically predisposed to actually not really being able to digest this. Same with wheat and gluten. Some cultures can handle it a little better than others. And genetics does play a part in our makeup and what we eat and how we react to certain foods that are in our bodies. So
yeah, and that, if I can also highlight that for a lot of people, they don't take into consideration where they've come from, even though they've moved to a new location. So for example, here in Canada, we are so multicultural. We have got every single ethnicity here. And if we try and eat the same thing, as somebody who's just come into the country or has been here a limited amount of time, their bodies don't react the same way as my body does. And my body's been here in Canada my entire life. And I love traveling. I love trying new foods. I love exploring. I love food. I love tasting different foods and seeing how people prepare it. But one of the things with this is that we really don't take into consideration, we go to the doctor and the doctor will say, well, you need to be this. And they put a little stamp on you saying that your blood pressure should be this, your weight should be this, your size should be this. But we're not all made up that same way. I have friends who have come from different countries, and they go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, you either need to lose weight or you need to do this. Yet their entire tribe, for lack of a better word, are all bigger people and strong, healthy, and vibrant. And when they start to change that, well, their systems go a little awry. So, I think what's really important for us is to keep in mind of our own body types.
There is, but there's a flip side to it as well, because genetics has come in, and a lot of diseases, many diseases are hereditary or seen as hereditary. But as example, my mother died when she was 43 years old of colon cancer. So when I started having gut and dietary issues, stomach problems in my 20s, that was a red flag for me, because she was originally diagnosed with gas. So when I was diagnosed with gas, of course, I'm like, woo. And over decades, I slowly started making changes. I noticed how certain foods were affecting my body, and really realized the foods that I couldn't eat anymore weren't necessarily the ones that are good for me. So I've made it past my mother's age. I don't have I'm just aware of my body and digestive issues. Had I probably had the same lifestyle with her as stress management, she probably had a different kind of stress management, which was like burying it deeply, which is what I tend to do. I'm my mother's daughter. And to knowing a lot more now than we did about what foods are affecting your body, if I ate exactly what she did and lived the way she handled stress the way that she did, I would get cancer too.
Oh, yeah.
And when you look at families, like both sides of my family are diabetic. On my maternal side, I have all my aunts and uncles. I had one uncle, he was diabetic from an early, like in his 20s, but my aunts are all adult onset in their 40s. That's lifestyle driven.
Oh, absolutely.
In the Caribbean, there's a lot of starches and a lot of sugars and a lot of flours in the Caribbean. My one aunt in North America, she was the oldest sister, but she was the last one to get diagnosed with diabetes. But I think if she lived in the Caribbean with her sisters, she would have been in the same boat. So environment, it might seem like genetics because they all have it, but if they all eat the same way, like their parents who got sick did and their parents who might have got sick did, that's why it seems like it's genetic and hereditary, is because, well, my mother had this. Well, if you do the same thing your ancestors did, the same thing's going to happen because you have the same genetic makeup. So that's why sometimes you see some family members that don't have the same body makeup or the same health problems. Chances are their diet and their lifestyle is different. So there's a funny caption I heard once saying, doctor, obesity runs in my family. The doctor's like, really? Nobody runs in your family. That might be the problem.
That's funny. That's good.
So yeah, and not to say that it's a crutch, but if we really think things are hereditary, what are we doing that are the same that our parents did? If you're going to have mashed potatoes and gravy and eat late at night and have the same family habits that you did when you're a child for you and your children, and I've seen families do this. I've seen 3 generations of really big families, and I know that they've got really poor eating habits. It's lots of breads, lots of jams, lots of sweets, lots of junk food, lots of pop, lots of chips. Oh yeah, well, it's genetic. Well, it is genetic if you shop and eat at the same place. Absolutely. That's not genetic. That's just a coincidental habit.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just observations from the trenches and looking at my family history and my experience. You do have genetics are in play. We are predisposed. We're not born this way. We're all born pretty damn near perfect. And then after that, it's all up to us to maintain that or not.
Very true. And in my practice, I have a lot of people that come in with certain ailments that they're wanting to shift and change. And a lot of the things, as I mentioned yesterday, aren't even theirs. They buy everything as real, they buy it as theirs, and they solidify it in their body, so the body starts causing dis-ease. And once again, as you allow yourself to identify what that is, being able to make some different choices, as Lou's saying, start running, or doing some different exercising or whatnot. Not saying that our emotional problems are based on exercise, but a lot of the things that we move forward, I have an allergy to this now, or I have this, I've always had this, but yet you can never find the source of where that comes from. If you can never find the source, it's usually never yours. So I invite people to just send that back to whomever they bought that from.
Exactly. The power of language, the power of the words, and it's something that we take and have heard from when we're little. From when we're 0 to 6 years old, we are downloading information. So if we're hearing and seeing things, we're learning that from other people, and it becomes ours. And we do it without even knowing it. That's just by association, surrounding, osmosis, repetition. That is unconscious. That is subconscious. We do not even realize it. Those tapes are playing, and those tapes are other people. So sometimes, you know what, you don't even really have a chance because that's kind of been written out for you, and it takes a couple of decades, and who knows what else, teen angst or family issues or parental issues, relationship issues, not realizing that we kind of adopted someone else's as our own. When I look at kids and young people who hate school, guess what? A high percentage of their parents had a bad experience. So what do you want to think that they grew up thinking and hearing all these horrible things about schools and teachers?
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? They have the same issues too. And I bet you teachers can totally pick out the parents of students that have issues and challenges in school, because the cycle continues. Their parents had a bad experience, and guess what? They've passed that on to their kids, so their expectations are the same. They don't expect school's going to be a good experience because they've been taught and learned in their own environment for how many years that their schools are horrible, is not a good experience, and all teachers are out for you, and this and this and this. So even though they hadn't experienced that, they go on with that school with an attitude, expecting it. So that happens. So that becomes right. And then someone else's story now becomes their story. And guess what? And they'll pass that on.
Yeah. And the big thing is that the majority of the people will justify why they're doing it. And that's where we get caught up in that loop, that continual loop, is you don't even know where it came from, yet you're going to fight for it because that's something that you were told and you can believe it. And the beauty of this is identifying where that's happening and allowing that subconscious mind to go, oh, hang on a second, I'm catching you now. I'm stepping into awareness rather than the automatic program of things. And this is what we're also inviting you to do, is really allow yourself to be a little bit more aware of what you're eating, aware of what you're doing, aware of how you're moving, aware of what is in your environment. And so in this detox, it's not just what I'm putting in my mouth, it's also what's my environment and what other things would I like to get rid of that really aren't serving me.
Exactly. I caught myself, and because it's so ingrained in every once in a while, and I caught myself because I'm out of balance lately, I caught myself overriding my appetite. I was full and I kept on eating. Like, why is that? Like, I'm so full, but I can't stop eating. Guess what? If I really dug in, it's the habit, what I do without thinking. Finish what's on your plate.
Mm-hmm.
That was played throughout my life. So when you think about it, and I'm sure I'm not the only person, and if this hits a note with you, please drop one of us a line. Again, it's not like there's a voice behind my head. It's an automatic reflex. It's an automatic reflex. I look at my plate and it has to be empty. My cue is to have an empty plate. My cue is visual. My plate still has food in it because of what someone told me. I'm not listening to my body, which is telling me it's full. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm kind of feeling gross, but I've got to finish this, right? So when you think about tuning in to that little voice that says, I've got to finish on your plate, is it I've got to finish what's on the plate, or is it finish what's on your plate? Think about if it's you or I. If it's you, that's someone else's voice that's telling you that. If it's I, that's coming internally. So even that little shift, who is telling you? And again, if you're hearing that voice, whose voice is it? Is it your voice or someone else's? And that goes into what you're saying, whose is this? So if you can really tune in and think, where is this coming from? Is that my voice? Like when people say, oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, you're so stupid. Even that little voice change or little word, I, you, it could be someone growing up, oh, you're such a stupid idiot. You're such an idiot. And then when you do something stupid, you go up, oh, you're such an idiot. Because you're repeating what you've heard from someone else about you, which is not true, but you've adopted it as your own because that's someone else's story. It was probably someone else's story. It was someone else's story.
And the nice thing is here, though, is that we don't have to go where that came from. We could just ask the question, who does this belong to? And I don't need a name. I don't need to know where that came from. It's belonging to whomever that is. And I can release that all. I can return that to all of them. I can send that back. I don't need to hold on to that. I don't need to buy the little package. I don't need to say, oh, great, look, here is a present for me, and I'm going to hold it and cherish it for the rest of my life. It doesn't matter who it is that we had as role models in our life. There are certain things that we wanted to get approval. We wanted to get accepted. We wanted to, hear that, oh, you're doing really great. And in order to do that, most of the time, as children, we defy ourselves and our being and our whole makeup of what internally we know is right for us in order to get that approval from someone else. And by doing that, and we align with somebody else's belief system, and we go ahead with what it is, each one of those times that we do that, we suppress ourselves more. We don't listen to ourselves more. We become smaller and smaller and smaller until we actually get into a point where we're insignificant. And there's been many people who have come as like, well, I'm doing this. Well, are you doing that because you want to do that? Or are you doing that because you have to do that? Oh, well, we always did this at home. Or this was always something that we did. This was, oh, well, so-and-so, told me that this would make this happen if I did this. So I've been doing it. Well, here's my question for you. How's that working for you? If it's bringing you joy and it's bringing you acceleration and it's bringing you a phenomenal life, then by all means continue it. But if it's not, and if you're poo-pooing yourself after and getting mad at yourself after because you've done something based on a habit, stop it. Return it to sender. Let it go. And yeah, it's going to be caught up a few times because how many generations have you been buying this crap is real? But the beautiful thing is that we are now stepping into awareness. We're stepping into consciousness. We can absolutely go, hey, this isn't working for me. And what would I like to choose for me? And allowing that to be in alignment until we can build up our muscle and bring that in for all of us. So as a contribution for us. But until we can do that for us, concentrate on you, the individual. Because as Lou was mentioning, you're in the airplane, you need to put your oxygen mask on first before you can assist anybody else. Because if your oxygen mask is not on and that plane is going, right? You got to make sure that you're fueled. You got to make sure that you are in wholeness. And this is what we're doing here, is allowing ourselves to reconnect with our beings, our bodies, and being an invitation. And I'm just very grateful that you guys are here with us. And Lou, being a part of this with me as a tandem flight.
Yep, like it. Woo-hoo, coming through. Hold on, partner. We got this. Yeah, no, Kim, that makes so much sense. And it's so nice to be able to hear it. And yeah, we don't have to own it anymore because it's not ours. We picked up someone's luggage at the airport. It's time to take it back.
We're doing a lot of referencing to airplanes and flights, and I think maybe we should take a trip somewhere. And yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Fantastic. Oh, you got company.
I just had an entrance. What's that? Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. That was my sister saying we're going to be eating very soon.
Oh, no. Where's that voice coming from? We're going to be eating.
She's got a little note. It was very cute. She's like, oh, I'm totally on camera.
Nice.
So,
Well, I am going to enjoy the evening trying to get my internet at home working, but it was a good day today. I had a sweet fix with just some sweet dried cherries was my sweet fix today. And I had a bit of a headache yesterday, which was probably a little bit of the detox of not having sugar for the day. And it's like, if that's the worst it can get, I'm okay with that. Went to bed early, did some meditation. So I think between that and I said with this detox, I'll be doing some EFT, some tapping, emotional freedom technique, and a lot more meditation than I have with previous detoxes. And that really seems to help with the cravings and the appetite. So that's something I've noticed, and I'm going to keep trying that way for the next couple of weeks here.
awesome. Well, I have us slotted for connecting tomorrow morning. I'm hoping to have this video out quite quickly this evening.
Okay.
So for those of you who are watching, you'll probably have a double dose of us real quick. So yeah, my evening is just going to be continual elimination, awareness, transitioning. As you see, I'm not in my own environment. I'm out visiting. So as we are out visiting, you are mindful of I know they're having, alcoholic beverages. I'm having my lemon water. And so, but this is what I'm happy with, and then it doesn't matter. So allowing yourself to truly be in the environment of friends, family, anywhere that you want to be, because you don't have to be isolated through this, which is the really great thing. You can still interact, and so people are having different types of foods. I've brought something for myself. I'm not going to be having the same thing. I'll have some other salad. I'll have some of the other things, but really being an invitation to still live my life full, even though I'm going through a detox.
That's right. What we can have is not what we don't have.
Very true. All right. Well, I'm going to let you be and enjoy your evening, and I will be connecting with you again first thing in the morning.
All right. Hasta mañana.
Hasta mañana.